Daisy Ridley takes on a formidable natural flow in Disney's Young Woman in the Sea, where she portrays the first woman to swim in the English Channel. And like many sports stories, it's inspiring and uplifting, so let's get into it. Through the steadfast support of her older sister and trainers, Trudy Ederle overcame adversity and the animosity of a patriarchal society to rise through the ranks of the Olympic swimming team and compete a staggering achievement, a 21-mile trek from France to England across the English Channel. So no joke, this is so much better than I hoped it might be. Daisy Ridley is awesome as she portrays Trudy, a headstrong and determined young woman who eventually surpasses all expectations and swims the English Channel. Ridley is charming and funny, just creating this genuine and endearing protagonist that has a lot of charisma, and it makes it almost impossible to not cheer her on. Now, there are unexpectedly funny moments, not comedic, but just because of earnest interactions. Now, first, we get to see these from actress Jeanette Hain, who plays Trudy's mom. She's no nonsense and just announces her decisions to her husband rather than consulting him. It's not done in a rude or mean manner, just matter-of-factly. I have decided. And then she states what's going to happen. We then get to see this rub off on Trudy, with Ridley carrying the similar deliveries that add a lot of cohesiveness and connectedness to the characters. Bodnia plays Trudy's father, and this guy is a walking contradiction. He's gruff and grumpy, pushing the patriarchy that was common for the time. But then he's also wildly supportive of his daughters when it matters. Bodnia also exudes charm in ways that just feel realistic for his character. Now, Ridley shares a lot of screen time with her on-screen sister, played by Tilda Cobham-Hervey. Their dynamic, it is uplifting, fun, just supporting each other through all sorts of situations. Margaret's a massive cheerleader for Trudy, but also a character who displays inner strength and outward tenacity. Now, two other standouts in the movie are Christopher Eccleston and Stephen Graham. Now, Eccleston will definitely create strong emotions. He plays a character of Trudy's travel coach just in this convincingly envious manner. Now, Graham is the polar opposite, and although he resembles something of a Neanderthal, his genuine care and supportive demeanor, it's just optimistic and encouraging. Now, for a sports story, this has all the same beats that you would expect, where we watch an underdog compete, succeed, then meet seemingly unsurmountable obstacles that must be overcome in order to provide the goosebump moments of success. And even though this does follow all of those similar tropes, it doesn't reduce the impact and the joy of the story. The cinematography is stunning as Ridley traverses the channel, just moving against the pounding waves that threaten to beat her into submission. And the score is sweepingly energetic and emotional, creating this atmosphere that's going to capture your heart and take your breath away. Now, the movie's just a little over 2 hours, and although it is a lengthy story that's mainly character-driven, the time went by pretty much unnoticed. I was enthralled by the challenges, and then I found myself continuously rooting just Trudy on towards her success. Now, some repetitious sequences are designed to illustrate the progression of skill, and these are mostly montages, and they go by fairly quickly. But it is noticeable that we are watching repeated situations a few times kind of on a loop. And while Trudy's sister isn't the central focus of the story, their relationship does play a pivotal part within the narrative. And there are some time jumps that are made obvious by romantic changes, but the entire behavior shift feels just a little sudden. We watch Margaret grow from staunchly doting on a certain young man to all of a sudden being engaged to an arranged partner. Now, I like how this showcases the patriarchal influence and the control that was exerted at the time, and then we do get to see a happy Margaret post-wedding, but we don't get to see much detail in the way of her shift in mindset. She caves to family wishes, even though she was just as stubborn and outspoken as her mom and Trudy. I know this is a small nitpick. I mean, it doesn't negatively affect the film in lasting ways, but from a character point of view, because Margaret is so important of a figure in Trudy's life, it would have been nice to see more of her ongoing development. That being said, she is a badass when it's called for, and the dynamic between the sisters, I thought it was incredible. Now, there are magnificent and immersive sequences that place us right in the water with Trudy, so we can almost feel the waves pounding against her through every stroke. We bob up and down in the water with her, just almost gasping along as she navigates the currents. Personally, as a former competitive swimmer, I know the physical exertion a long swim can take on a person. And Daisy Ridley confidently and convincingly showcases the toll that the swim takes on her. And then throughout the entire process, we've got music that breathes emotion into the scenes. I don't always notice the score in films. I mean, sometimes it's just present. But here, it's almost transformative with how it influences the atmosphere. I was holding my breath through way more of this than I could have imagined. The drama and tension were palpable, especially when Trudy encountered extremely daunting complications. One sequence in particular just made me wince and squirm in my seat. I was perfectly warm and safe, unlike the character, but the expressions and the movements that Ridley executes continued to envelop me within the narrative. Now, there are moments when it can be assumed that the story's being preachy, especially when we see women standing up to the patriarchy. But I believe that more than anything, it accurately reflects the mindsets of the times and then also confronts them in tangible ways by real people who encouraged and brought about change. Now, the ending footage and the title cards, they are wildly inspiring, and they really should dispel any male grumblings of female empowerment. Trudy Ederle was a force to be reckoned with, and she overcame oppressive mindsets, sexist limitations, and general buffoonery by men who only saw themselves as superior and dominant, even though they were being spanked and schooled by a young woman and her dream. Now, probably the biggest downside to the entire film is that it's only getting a limited theatrical release. This is a spectacular movie to watch on a huge screen with an immersive sound system. Daisy Ridley shines in the lead role, showcasing tenacity, an unbreakable spirit, and then clever expressions and retorts. The story is inherently inspiring, but made all the more so thanks to breathtaking cinematography and a gripping musical score. The supporting cast all work in harmony to provide the right amount of tension and drama, while the story allows for lighter moments designed to spotlight character wit. Despite being over 2 hours in length, the storytelling is compelling and will grab hold of you and not let you go until the last swim stroke has been completed. This may not have been on your radar to watch, but take any opportunity you get to see this. It'll put a smile on your face, warm your heart, and take your breath away. There's no sex, some partial brief nudity, a little profanity, no violence. I give Young Woman in the Sea 4.5 out of 5 couches. So do you have any favorite inspirational sports stories? I mean, there are a ton to choose from. But for me, some of the immediate ones that come to mind, Cool Runnings, Rudy, Invincible with Marky Mark. Let me know your favorites, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.